Let's say your daughter was born with 4 passports. Whether she has 4 at 30 depends on whether someone in your family got the right advice before a specific birthday. At least 10 countries cancel citizenship acquired at birth, automatically and without warning. IMI verified every deadline in this video against government sources, and we found that they cluster around 4 moments in a child's life. Citizenship acquired at birth feels permanent, and in most countries it is. But several states in Europe and Asia treat a birthright inherited abroad as provisional. It lapses in early adulthood unless somebody files paperwork, proves ties to the country, or both. And worse, the citizenship losses are automatic, usually silent, and in many countries irreversible. If you want to map which citizenships your family already qualifies for, the citizenship catalogue inside the IMI Sovereigns community covers every path to a passport across more than 190 countries. Members compare notes in our private chat and put questions to our editorial team in live sessions. Link and founding member discount are in the description. Now, let's begin with those citizenships that don't attach to a deadline at all. The Netherlands ties lost to document hygiene. An adult Dutch national who also has another nationality and whose residence is continuously outside the kingdom and the European Union loses Dutch citizenship automatically after 13 years. One thing prevents it: a new Dutch passport, identity card, or certificate of nationality issued inside that period. Each issuance restarts the countdown. For children, the 13 years begins at 18, which puts the first hard deadline at 31. Dual nationals in the United Kingdom saw their clock start on January 1st, 2021, when Brexit took the country out of the safe zone. Dutch government guidance warns that the issue date of the new document governs, not the application date, and advises applying at least 3 months ahead because production can take that long. A rolling clock is at least forgiving because any passport renewal resets it. The next 2 countries give you 1 date and no reset. This is a fixed forfeiture date, and Switzerland sets it at 25. A child born abroad to a Swiss parent who also has another nationality forfeits Swiss citizenship on his 25th birthday unless his birth was notified to a Swiss authority at home or abroad, or unless he declared in writing that he wishes to be Swiss. His own children forfeit with him. The bar is trivially low because any registration, matriculation, or issuance of identity documents counts, which makes this a pure awareness test. Belgium sets its trap 3 years later. Belgium born abroad after January 1st, 1967 loses his nationality on his 28th birthday if he has another citizenship. If his main residence was outside Belgium between 18 and 28, and if he never filed a declaration of retention at his consulate during that decade. There is a shortcut for anyone who had not yet turned 28 on July 12, 2018. Obtaining a Belgian passport or identity card between 18 and 28 now defeats the loss, which turns an ordinary passport renewal into a retention act. Both of those are one signature problems for a family paying attention. The next countries close citizenship opportunities by your child's 22nd birthday. All 5 Nordic states apply some version of the same idea. A citizen born abroad who turns 22 without a meaningful connection to the country loses the nationality automatically, unless that would leave him stateless. The details differ enough to trip up even attentive families. Denmark cancels the citizenship of Danes born abroad who never resided in Denmark and never visited under circumstances indicating association with the country. Retention is automatic for anyone registered as a resident for at least 3 consecutive months, or whose visits before 22 add up to roughly a year. Everyone else must apply to the Ministry of Immigration and Integration, which weighs visit patterns, Danish language skills, and contact with Danish relatives. Applications open at the 20th birthday. Because processing can take over a year and the ministry must receive the file before the 22nd birthday, posting it in time is not enough. Sweden works almost identically with a free application to the migration agency filed after the 18th birthday and before the 22nd. Nobody who resided in Sweden or visited regularly needs to file at all, and the loss cannot happen if it would leave the person stateless. Sweden also softened the consequences of past losses. From June 6, 2026, people stripped of citizenship at 22 can apply to regain it where the migration agency finds the loss hit them or their EU family disproportionately, a reform adopted to align Swedish law with European court rulings. Finland frames the same test as a sufficient connection. A dual national loses Finnish citizenship at 22 unless he was born in Finland and has a municipality of residence there at 22, unless he spent 7 years in Finland or another Nordic country, or unless he took one qualifying action between 18 and 21. Renewing a Finnish passport counts, and so does military service or a written notice to a Finnish mission. Helsinki mails a warning letter every year to citizens turning 18 with fewer than 7 years of Finnish residence, wherever an address appears in the population register. Families abroad whose addresses never entered that register receive nothing at all. Norway preserved its version of the rule even after embracing dual citizenship in 2020. A Norwegian from birth who has not resided 2 years in Norway or 7 years across the Nordics must apply to the Directorate of Immigration before the 22nd birthday. The application is free. Retention generally requires 6 months of visits, and ordinary holders count toward that total. Iceland cancels the citizenship of Icelanders born abroad who never had legal domicile there, with the same 7-year Nordic exemption, and its evidence demands are quite analogue. Applicants submit letters from 2 people residing in Iceland describing the visits and the relationships involved. Spain closes its window a year earlier and aims it at the 3rd generation abroad. A Spaniard born outside Spain to a parent who was also born outside Spain and who has the nationality of his country of residence must declare his wish to conserve Spanish nationality before a consular civil registrar within 3 years of turning 18. Miss the window and the citizenship lapses on the 21st birthday. Recovery under Article 26 of the Civil Code then typically requires becoming legally resident in Spain, a far heavier lift than one signature at 20. 3 countries in this same window ask for something harsher than a form. Singapore imposes the toughest choice on this list. Minors who acquired Singapore citizenship by descent or registration must take the oath of renunciation, allegiance, and loyalty within 12 months of turning 21. Having first divested themselves of every other citizenship. Those who do not lose Singapore citizenship at 22, and the reminder letters go out only after the 21st birthday. No dual citizenship path exists for adults, so the family decision is binary and the deadline merely forces it. Japan requires dual nationals to select a single nationality. Anyone who had both nationalities before 18 must choose before turning 20. And anyone who acquired the second at 18 or later must choose within 2 years. Selecting Japan means either renouncing the other citizenship or filing a declaration of choice paired with an obligation to endeavour to renounce, and the Justice Minister can formally demand that choice. Ignoring the demand for 1 month can cost the Japanese nationality. Tokyo rarely chases born dual nationals abroad, yet the law is unchanged and the ministry can begin enforcing it whenever it likes. South Korea produces the harshest deadline any dual national family will face because it wields nationality selection to conscription. A male dual national who wants out of Korean citizenship must file his renunciation by March 31st of the year he turns 18, and after that date, he generally cannot renounce until he completes military service or ages out of the obligation. Sons of the Korean diaspora who ignore that date can find themselves at 25 unable to shed a citizenship that restricts their travel and triggers service liability. Retention has its own calendar too, with selection due by 22 for a woman and by 22 or within 2 years of military service for a man. Every deadline so far gives your child a chance to act for himself. The final group closes opportunities long before he can decide. A newer generation of rules front-loads the risk into infancy, and these now demand more parental vigilance than the age 22 regimes. Where the Nordic model asks a young adult to prove ties, these systems ask his parents to file on time. Germany abolished two famous traps in its June 2024 reform. A child born abroad whose German parent was also born abroad after December 31, 1999, and resides abroad, does not become German at birth if he acquires another nationality, unless the parents register the birth with a German registry office or mission within 1 year. Registration on time makes the child German retroactively from birth, and according to the Federal Foreign Office, a missed deadline is final. The first cohort of parents affected, Germans born abroad from 2000 onwards, is having children now. Italy went even further. Under the 2025 reform, known as the Tajani Decree, upheld by the Constitutional Court in March 2026, a person born abroad with another citizenship is deemed never to have acquired Italian nationality unless he has an Italian-born parent or grandparent, or a parent who resided in Italy for 2 consecutive years before his birth. Only claims filed by 11:59 p.m. Rome time on March 27, 2025, escape those tests. For everyone else, citizenship now arrives by declaration, which parents must file within 3 years of the birth. Ireland never cancels a citizenship, and it produces the same generational severance anyway through sequencing. Citizenship via the Foreign Births Register takes effect from the date of registration, not from birth. So a child born before his parent registered can never claim through the parent. The Department of Foreign Affairs states plainly that a child born while an expectant parent's application waits in the roughly 12-month queue has no entitlement through that parent. The operational rule is blunt: register before conceiving the next generation. The United Kingdom gives children of British by descent parents a statutory entitlement to registration under the British Nationality Act 1981, provided a grandparent was British otherwise than by descent and the parent spent 3 years in the UK before the birth. That entitlement expires 12 months after the child is born, with Home Office discretion to extend to 6 years in exceptional circumstances, which puts British citizenship on the newborn checklist. Canada offers the counter-current. Bill C-3, in force since December 15, 2025, abolished the first-generation limit and retroactively restored citizenship to descendants excluded by it, including the lost Canadians caught by Canada's own former Retain by 28 requirement. The trade-off lands on expat parents, because a child born abroad to a parent who was also born abroad now inherits Canadian citizenship only if that parent demonstrates 1,095 days of physical presence in Canada before the birth. So, what's the lesson here? Treat each of your child's nationalities as an asset with maintenance dates and diarise them at birth. In the first year, register the birth everywhere it can be registered. Between 16 and 18, map the Choose One countries. Because Korea's renunciation date arrives before your son turns 18, Japan's selection duty crystallizes at 20, and Singapore's oath falls due at 21. From 18 to 22, work the Nordic and Spanish files if applicable. After that, 3 dates are left. Switzerland's registration backstop at 25, Belgium's declaration or passport before 28, and the Dutch 13-year document clock, which never stops. Ties help everywhere. The paperwork is dull, the windows are short, and the passports your children were born with will be theirs at 30 only if somebody in your family manages the calendar well. Now, if your family is planning where the next child is born, that decision can create citizenship instead of costing it. Check out the video on your screen now, where we cover all 33 birthright passports available worldwide, plus the one country that adds residency perks for the whole family in the same move. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you catch these rule changes before the deadline catches you.